Again, this is the Wilmington Transit Corridors Improvement Project. We'll be starting the presentation at 4:05. But if you'd like to participate by phone, you can do so. The calling numbers are on your screen. You should have also received a passcode when you registered for the session. The phone number is 1-300-715-8592. The ID is 842-1177-7908, and the passcode 495913. And you should have also received a personal passcode. So all attendees, whether they're on the phone or they're using their computer speakers, will be joining the session in listen-only mode. You can ask a question anytime during the question and answer by using the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. You should hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen, and that will make the Q&A button visible. The panelists will be able to see your questions, but we're going to keep the questions until the end of the presentation to answer them. And a reminder that the presentation will end after the question and answer session. So we'll be starting the presentation in about 1 minute. I have 4:05. Matt, if you want to start.
Sure. Thanks, Diane. I'll start off by welcoming everyone to tonight's presentation and thanking you all for participating. We always appreciate the feedback and the input that we get when we do our public outreach efforts. It's very helpful for our design process. So again, I'll say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Just to start off briefly, I'll introduce our design team. Again, my name is Matt Vincent, the Chief of Project Development North for Blvd. Diane Gunn is with Century Engineering. She's our project management consultant. Matt Gowdy is with K Engineers as our design consultant, along with John Calnan, who is a planner with DTC. And Kathy Smith is also with DTC. I don't think she's quite on yet, but we hope she'll be able to join us here in a little bit. So again, just welcome to everyone. And Matt, if you want to go on to the next slide, we'll get started with the presentation.
Okay, so the meeting agenda this afternoon is to go over the project location and goals. We'll summarize what the project is about, what the schedule for the project is, how to find out more information on the project, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So the goal of the project is that Wilmington Transit Corridors project is located in the Wilmington Central Business District. The Orange Street, King Street, 8th Street, and 9th Street corridors will all be improved for transit. We'll also be reconfiguring Orange Street between Martin Luther King Boulevard and 10th Street. We'll be providing bump outs to allow better bus access. This reduces the boarding and unloading times. We'll be providing real-time signs to bus shelters to give riders current bus schedule information, and also providing newly designed bus shelters to provide wider pedestrian walkways for ADA accessibility and also protect users from the weather. Matt, would you like to describe the project? Thanks.
Sure. I'd like to go through the project. Like Diane said, there's 4 distinct roadways being improved for transit within the downtown district of Wilmington. I'm going to start with Orange Street. and then we'll go through each project and each roadway and what the improvements are going to be for each roadway. We're going to start on Orange Street, broken Orange Street down into two different sections. The whole improvement is from MLK Boulevard to 10th Street, but between MLK Boulevard and 4th Street, we have some pedestrian improvements that we're going to do at Del Tech. There's some safety issues at this intersection, so we've decided to move the parking from the left side of the roadway to the right. And then also we're bumping out the sidewalk to provide a reduced pedestrian crossing and improve the stop signs and signage approaching the intersection to warn vehicles that there is a pedestrian crossing at this location. So there are some additional concept plans that are also available, and they're available on the website that's listed on the slide. So the section between 4th Street and 10th Street is currently 2 lanes with parking on the left side. This will be reduced to 1 lane of travel with parking on both sides of the roadway to provide additional parking. It's actually additional 42 parking spaces between 4th and 10th Street. There will be bus bump outs added at 6th Street and 8th Street with additional bus shelters and real-time signs at these locations to provide better access to the transit stops for the buses and the pedestrians. There's one change to existing stops along Orange Street that we wanted to highlight. There's an existing bus stop at between 5th and 6th Street that is going to be moved to the opposing end of 6th Street. There's an existing development that's actually under construction right now on that block. So this stop location made more sense to be moved to the other side of 6th Street. So there's improvements on King Street. The existing bus stop locations will remain as in their same location as they are today. We will be adding bump outs to accommodate bus shelters, benches, trash receptacles, and also the real-time signs at each of the locations along King Street. The bump outs, as discussed before, will improve the mobility and access from the buses and reduce waiting times at these locations. It also helps with safety because the buses will not have to pull back out into traffic. They can just stop right along the travel lane and then move along once they board and offload. 9th Street is the next street that we'll talk about. The limits are from Adams Street to Church Street. There will be this section. 9th Street was looked at as a whole to determine, if we could consolidate stops, or, even if there could be stops that may be needed where pedestrians were looking to add a bus stop. So some bus stops that were removed as a part of this analysis was Madison Street, Washington Street, Walnut, Lombard, and Pine Streets. However, bus stops were then added at West Street and Clifford Brown Walk, which is just to the east of Walnut Street. At each of the stop locations, benches and trash receptacles will be installed. And then bump outs will be constructed at Monroe, Jefferson, West, and Clifford Brown Walk. Real-time signs will be installed at bus shelter locations. And there's one existing shelter at 9th and Market Street, that will have a real-time sign installed at that location. And there will be 2 additional parking spots added along the 9th Street corridor as a part of these improvements. Since there are a few stops that are being moved, we wanted to show what the stop locations would look like in the future condition. The existing bus stop shown on the mapping is shown in blue, and stops that will be removed are shown in red, and then new bus stop locations are shown in green. So as I discussed before, the stop at Monroe will remain with a trash receptacle and bench. The stop at Madison will be removed. There's a stop at Jefferson that will remain with, and will have a bump out added with a bench and trash receptacle. The stop at Washington will be removed. And then there is a stop at West Street that will be added as a part of these improvements. As we make our way past Walnut Street, there's an existing stop very close to Walnut Street that will be removed. That will be replaced by the stop at Clifford Brown Walk that is shown in green. The stop at Lombard will be removed and consolidated with the stop at Clifford Brown Walk. And the stop at Pine Street will be removed, and the stop at Spruce Street will remain in its existing location. We looked at a bump out at this location, but due to the turning radiuses onto Spruce Street, it made it difficult to install a bump out at that location. So last street with improvements is 8th Street, the same limits as 9th Street from Adams Street to Church. There were bus stops. We also went through the consolidation and analysis process throughout this entire corridor as well. And bus stops were at Morrow, Washington, and Orange Streets will be removed. However, bus stops will be added at Jefferson Street and moved from the east corner and west corner to the west corner at 8th and West and 8th and Lombard Streets. Benches and trash receptacles installed at each location, and then bump outs will be constructed at Adams, Jefferson, West, King, Walnut, and Lombard. There's an existing shelter at Shipley and 8th that will get a real-time sign installed as a part of the project. So showing some of the improvements on 8th Street. So Adams Street will remain with a bus bump out, and then a bench and a trash receptacle will be added. The stop at Morrow Street will be removed, and the stop at Jefferson will be added with a bench and a trash receptacle. There's a stop at Jefferson that will be added that will counter the stop on 9th Street that will get a bus bump out and a bench and a trash receptacle at that location. The stop at Washington will be consolidated with the stop at West Street into a new stop at West Street on the far side of the intersection with a bus bump out and a bench at that location. The stop at Orange Street will be removed as well. And the stop at Lombard Street, which is currently on the near side of the intersection, will be moved to the far side of the intersection with a new bump out and trash receptacle and bench. This stop was moved mainly to avoid the stacking of school buses during school hours. It was conflicting with the buses at the school. I'll let Diane talk a little bit about the schedule, and then we can open it up for questions.
Okay, so the project schedule right now is that we're finishing off the design. We're in final design now during fall and winter of this year. Advertisement will take place over the winter. And then construction will begin in spring of 2022. And we hope to have the project finished by the end of 2022. And the project would be coordinated with the Restore the Corridor project, also known as the I-95 project. So for more information about the project, there is a website. You can go to https://de.gov/Wilm Transit Corridors. The concept plans are located on the website, and there is also a comment form located on the website. After the meeting ends tonight, you'll see a screen which has a link to the comment form. If you'd like to fill it out after this presentation, you can do that, or come back at another time and see it on the website. The contact information is also on the website, and there will be a video recording of this information session that will be made available on the website by this Friday, November 5th. So with that, we're going to start the question and answer session. You can hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen and you'll see the controls pop up. There's a Q&A button. You can push that and type your question, or you can raise your hand. If you want to raise your hand, I'll unmute you and you can ask your question. If you're joining by phone, you can push *9 to raise your hand and push *6 to toggle between mute and unmute. And just a reminder that the presentation will end after the question and answer session. So right now I'm not seeing any questions, but we'll wait a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions. Okay, I do see a question. Who will be responsible for the cleanup of bus stops? Is that something that John or Kathy, you could answer?
Yes, Diane. DART cleans up bus stops where there's trash cans or a bench with the shelters. If it's a straight, like a street intersection itself, not sure if the city makes that makes the cleanup or one of their contracted folks who work on cleanup of the streets. But at the stops where DART has a shelter with a trash can or a bench with a trash can, DART is responsible for the cleanup.
Okay, another question. Will this draw vulnerable populations to linger at the bus stop with benches? John or Kathy?
The bus stops on King Street that have shelters, and we'll get new shelters along with Orange Street, they will basically improve versions of what are out there now.
We'll wait a minute or two if there's any more questions. Okay, one more question. The plan shows on Orange Street between 4th and 5th a merge into one lane. Will the merge lane be just shown by lines? Matt, is that something I don't know if you want to bring up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The full question is, will the merge lane be just shown by lines or by a traffic device?
It will mainly be shown by pavement markings and signage. There's actually some existing parking right at that location for loading, and that will not be impacted. So it'll mainly be shown by signing and striping. There's no physical traffic device will be used for that.
Okay, and then will parking be an issue during the project?
I mean, if you want, I can answer this, Diane. So the way the project will be constructed is it will be intersection to intersection. So they won't be shutting down the entire road or even blocks of the road. It'll be, half a block. They'll just need to transition from, using one lane. So it'll be the parking that will be needed to be, I guess, bagged or during construction will be isolated to that specific location that they're constructing. So they'll be moving from, probably the MLK side of the corridor all the way up to 10th Street. So it shouldn't be an issue. It should be isolated, if anything.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, but I just want to remind everybody, you can always go to the website for the project. And there is the capability of asking questions through the website if you think of something afterwards. Just want to thank everybody for attending. Thanks for your questions and your input. And please fill out the comment form after the presentation if you have time now, or fill it out later through the website. Thank you.